Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much to the organisers, first of all, for allowing us the opportunity to present here today. And I'm going to talk to you about 3 advocates of cloud-based translation technology. So first of all, a little bit of background about myself. My name is James Evans, and I'm the marketing executive at XTM International. Prior to that, I did a psychology degree in Birmingham. I worked for a healthcare company, and outside of work, my interests include technology and sport. Is that better? Okay. Okay, so now a little bit of background about XTM International. Is that okay? So, XTM International was established in 2002 with the sole purpose of developing and selling translation technology. It's a web-based platform available in 2 offerings. So we have XDM Cloud, which is a SaaS-based solution, software as a service, and this allows you to pay monthly for your technology, and this includes all support, maintenance, and upgrades. Alternatively, we have XTM Suite. Which is a more traditionally licensed software with a one-off cost. So, what exactly is XTM? XTM is an integrated capital and translation management system. You upload your source file either from the Projects tab. Alternatively, you can have the source file system via our API through a content management system. Project management in the system is represented by this blue box at the top here, and when you upload your file, you can apply a workflow, allocate resources such as translators, correctors, reviewers. The project manager then has access to project metrics, so the types of matching you have within the document. We'll also be able to generate a quote, so you can see how much the project is going to cost based on predetermined settings within the system. When you upload your file, it then goes through something we call the XTM engine, which is represented by the white box in the middle here, and we convert the file to XML, segment it, and then apply any translation memory or terminology. Once we've done that, we then create the XLIF, which is then presented in the XTM editor, which is the capital component of our system. That's represented at the bottom via the green or yellow box. And then once the translators, correctors and reviewers have finished with the file, it can then be exported in whichever format that it came into the system. Now we're going to move on to our advocates of cloud-based translation technology. So our first advocate is a company called Ubaila, and they are an advocate of cloud-based technology from the perspective of somebody who is starting a translation agency or some of the smaller translation agencies. We also have a company called Terralingua. They're a mid-sized translation agency, and they're an advocate from the perspective of somebody who wants to translate on the global stage. Finally, we have Zynga, and they are an advocate of our cloud-based translation technology from the point of view of somebody who does high volumes of translation. So, we'll start with Ubaila. Ubaila is a startup LSP based in Germany, started by Till Binder and his business partner, and they set the company up with the aims to quality human translation quickly and conveniently. The problems that they face when starting their like most agencies, they want to be able to compete with the very biggest, so they required things like server-based translation memory, server-based glossary systems, project management functionality, but also the ability to provide their translators with a capital that was linked into all these systems. So, in short, they have requirements, but with a small budget. Have a lack of IT infrastructure or expertise. Till, for example, had a background in marketing, and his partner was a project manager. As a result, neither know how to operate, run, or maintain a server, and so it was important that their solution didn't have these characteristics. Another problem wanted their solution to be scalable. So in their eyes, they're not going to be a small company forever. They want to grow, and they required a solution that allowed them to do this. Finally, they wanted to minimize disruption and change, and they wanted the transition over to their new system to be as simple and as uncomplicated as possible. So the solution. Their solution is based translation technology. Effective. There are no upfront costs. Support, maintenance and upgrade are included, as I alluded to earlier, within those monthly fees. And it's a scalable system. So they've started with our 5-user system, but if their business grows, they're able to go up to 50, 100, 150, 300 user systems. They also have the integrated CAT tool and translation management system. So this allows them to have the technology that allows them to compete with all the biggest LSPs that are out there right from the very beginning. Result through Byler. Easy implementation. They were running projects days after purchase. A very manageable monthly cost, and from our perspective, the most important thing, a very happy customer. So on to our second advocate of cloud-based translation technology. So our second company is a Brazilian LSP called Terralingua. The owner you'll see there is Mauro Bertel. They fluctuate between 5 and 20 users using XTM. Offices in Brazil, Argentina, and translators located all across South America. In reference to Terralingua, we're going to talk about a specific project and how cloud-based translation technology enabled to deliver that project ahead of schedule and also with no customer complaints. So they won a contract with Adobe US to produce 3 digital books into 3 different languages: Brazilian, Portuguese, American Spanish, 1,800 pages, which equated to 550,000 new words with 180,000 repetitions. So what were the problems with this particular project? So firstly, they have scattered resources. So they have offices and translators and reviewers located all across the globe. As you can see from this graphic, they've got offices based in 2 offices in South Brazil in different locations, an office in Argentina, across the south, and finally validate in east and west coasts of the United States and also in Spain. So as you can see, the resources are scattered across 3 different continents and 4 different time zones. Collaborating a project when, in this particular instance, can be quite difficult. Another problem is that they had no translation memory or terminology, and as a result they needed to benefit from the in-document repetition and maximise this so that they could ensure that the project remained profitable for them. Another problem was they were given an inefficient workflow to work with. So as you'll see from the diagram, it's a very long and staged workflow with multiple review processes and, as you can probably imagine, quite inefficient. Finally, they had a deadline of only 12 weeks to deliver this project. So what was the solution? The solution was cloud-based translation technology. Accessible to anybody, anywhere in the world. All you require is an internet connection and your browser. So this meant it didn't matter where the translators were located, where the reviewers were located, everybody could access the system to work together. So they had centralized resources, so this meant that files were uploaded to the server, and when people required access to the server, XTM allows this to happen. There's no need to files via email, etc. Thirdly, real-time project metrics. So the project managers located in Brazil could see how the review process in Spain, for example, was progressing. This is quite a benefit when you're working across multiple time zones and also multiple continents. Finally, because it's a cloud-based technology solution, they were able to benefit from real-time propagation. So what I mean by this is when there's a repetition within the document, it's in another translator's segments, then this is automatically propagated into their segments. So you really benefit from the within document repetition, which obviously reduces cost and time, etc. Finally, benefit is collaborative workflow. So what do I mean by collaborative workflow? So a collaborative workflow is what and you simultaneously. If we were to assume that translation took an hour, correction took an hour, and review took an hour, you would have a 3-hour process. However, if you can start the correction as soon as the first segment in translation is done, you could probably reduce this time down to, I don't know, as a guess, around an hour and 10, an hour and 20 minutes instead of 3 hours. So some quite significant savings in time. And this is how that workflow fit into the workflow that they were given to work by with Adobe. So as you can see, the translation, editing, quality assurance and the validation from Adobe all occurred concurrently, and this meant that all that was required was the desktop publishing. So, the result for Terralingua. The result was reduced cost to the client because there was less validation and QA required from Adobe. Cost to Terralingua because they were able to maximize repetition. They were able to make the most of all their resources, even though they were scattered across South America. And finally, the most importantly, it was delivered well within time in under 11 weeks. And importantly, again, from the perspective of Terralingua, is that they had some very good feedback from their customers, Adobe, who I believe will be using them in the future for more translation projects on this scale. Our third advocate of cloud-based translation technology is Zynga. For those of you who don't know, Zynga is a games company founded in 2007, and they're the world's leader in providing social gaming. If you're anything like me, you've probably had lots of friends who use Farmville who've asked you to buy them a bale of hay or something through Facebook. So what are Zynga's problems? So Zynga perform daily updates on their games. These are very, very large files, 500,000 word files daily. And you can imagine it's a daily update, so a very tight deadline to produce this much translation. They also translate into between 5 and 15 languages with these daily updates, averaging at 12, which means they need to use multiple keys to deliver that work in time. They also have an internal translation management system, which is crucial to their production. So they were provided allow system as well. And finally, it's very important that they kept this process affordable. So the solution for Zynga was a private instance of XTM Cloud. So we host and maintain and run their server, but they have their own server set up on database, which is separate from usual cloud customers. They have a server cluster, which has a very high power, and with built-in redundancy so that Zynga can be running 24/7, 365 days a year. They also benefit from collaborative workflows in the same way that we looked at with Terralingua, and that allowed them to deliver projects within timescales. They're also able to retain all their translation assets despite subcontracting to various LSPs using the subcontracting feature. So they retain the translation memory, they retain the terminology, and above all, they retain control over the project and are able to view real-time project metrics to ensure that these updates are delivered on time. Finally, they were able to integrate XTM with their in-house translation management system via our open APIs. So what was the result? The result they were able to conduct daily updates to 12 different languages. They have reduced costs by retaining their translation assets and benefiting from a high percentage of in-context exact matching. And they're also able to reduce timescale through online collaboration. What this adds up to in total is that Zynga were able to process 4.5 billion words through XTM in 2012 and 2013. So this highlights not only the scalability of XTM, but also the ability to handle large volumes of translation. Summarize, cloud-based translation technology is a problem solver. It's cost effective with no upfront cost. You can pay monthly, quarterly or yearly. It's low maintenance, there's no servers to maintain, there's very little IT infrastructure to manage. It's flexible and collaborative, so anybody can work on your system anywhere in the world. You don't need to provide them the software because it's there for them to use. And it's scalable. So we're just starting out as an LSP, or Zynga putting through 4.5 billion words each year. Cloud-based translation technology can solve your problems. Thank you very much for listening. Has anybody got any questions?
Спасибо, thank you, James. Если есть вопросы есть? Вообще нет вопросов. Тогда я задам вопрос. Меня слышно? Я задам по-английски, а вы переведете ответ. Хорошо? I'll ask you a question in English so that as you don't have the device. with the cloud-based technology, where do you store the segments?
So, are you talking about the translation memory or the
Yes.
files itself?
And the files.
So the translation memory is served on a server, but each customer has their own database. So your database isn't client's database, so it's highly secure, and there's no interference from other parties.
Еще вопросы? Хорошо, если вопросов нет, тогда давайте еще раз поблагодарим Джеймса за презентацию.